Hey everybody, Dave Neal here. Quick video regarding my thoughts on the new allegations against DElia. Back in June, DElia was accused of basically trying to bang a bunch of his fans. That's really what it was. Some turned out to be underage. When that all happened, I think a lot of us thought there would be more accusations coming, and then for a few months there was nothing. Well, now we have a report from CNN. An actress named Megan Drust recounted an alleged incident in 2011 when DElia asked Drust for a ride home from a LA restaurant where she had gone to meet him and a friend. She said DElia exposed himself to her when they got in her car. She exited the vehicle when she said he began to masturbate. Man, I'd love to see DElia's Uber passenger rating. It can't be good. Oh my gosh. She said, I get out and I have the door open and I walk out into the street and I'm saying, why are you doing this? And I remember saying, you're defiling my car. I didn't want to make him mad or upset because you're in survival mode, you know? Drust told CNN he climaxed in his pants and then he zipped everything up, and I said, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you is a great blanket question for a lot that's going on with DElia. What's wrong with you, man? And you know, it's important that we hear all sides of the story. So Chris's lawyer responded, DElia denies these allegations and emphatically states that he has never engaged in any sexual conduct with any women without her consent. That's very Bill Clinton-esque, you know, like legal ramble. When Bill Clinton was like, I didn't have sexual relations. It's like, bro, you got a blowjob in the Oval Office. And I had to find out what oral sex was from my mom because I was a teenager. You know what I mean? Well, I knew what it was. Okay. Let's talk about motives. Does the accuser, the actress from 2011, have any reason to tell this story other than it's the truth? She's not looking for anything financial gain. It sure as hell doesn't help her career. I think we've all learned that coming out and telling your story just leads to you getting defamed and people, you know, not believing you. There's no political agenda here, you know. Look, I wasn't even going to make this video because I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from some diehard DElia fans, which is fine. We're all allowed to just believe what we want to believe. The fact is, there's somebody with a credible claim who's told multiple people, hasn't wanted to talk about it for years, and now it's brought back up. This happened first time in 2011, but someone else said in 2018 that he exposed himself to them, and it's like, there's enough people that probably want to have sex with you that this becomes more of a power dynamic move. Like, why in the car do you have to start masturbating? You know, don't you know the Seinfeld rule? You ask her if she wants to go up and get coffee, right? Like, didn't we all watch Seinfeld? We know how it works. I'm not saying asking someone up for coffee is consent, but it sure is getting closer to consent than just jerking off at them in the car. George's date, Carol, asked George to come up for coffee after the date was over, and he says he doesn't like coffee. It keeps him up at night. And then once it was all over, he realizes that coffee meant sex, and he blew it. This isn't one of those like, well, the times have changed. I don't think getting a ride home from a female, whether she's a friend or an acquaintance, ever meant consent for sex or masturbating. I never responded to the previous DElia accusations because while there was some screen grabs shared, it really felt like a bunch of people that were fans of his that he tried to bang. And he reached out to some people that, I mean, he really towed the line between, you know, underage and of age. And I think that was more of the issue rather than a consent, no consent issue. And as slimy as it is to try to hit on girls that are barely 18, he did say that he met them at his comedy show. And if they went to his comedy show, he assumed they were of age, which again, legally speaking, not a lawyer, that just seems kind of slimy. Like, well, I assumed you were at the show that you were of age. Well, you know, just do, 8 seconds more research. You'd see she's wearing a high school cheerleading shirt in her next photo. A second woman who asked not to be identified told CNN she was working as an overnight manager in a Cleveland hotel where DElia was staying in March 2018. She says he rang the front desk around midnight to request assistance with a faulty air conditioner in his room. When the woman, who was then 24, went to the room to help, she said DElia answered the door naked. She immediately left. Now, here I am, with no law degree, Googling indecent exposure laws, and I know it's different if you're in public versus in private, but clearly, regardless of the law, this is just slimy. I was Googling what the law is when it comes to masturbating in front of women, and there was an article from HuffPost a few years ago called Why Men Masturbate in Front of Women Without Their Consent. The person who wrote the article said that the urge to masturbate in front of a person without her or his consent, however, should be understood as an expression of violence, not a deviant sexual act. I like to use the metaphor that if your attacker had hit you over the head with a frying pan, you wouldn't call it cooking. Kind of genius. That's kind of genius. Just because the event involved genitals doesn't make it sexual. The person used masturbation as a weapon, no different than a gun. More like a handgun for him. They emphasize that consent is everything when discussing matters of sexual assault. Misconduct expressed through unsolicited masturbation does not stem from a different psychological motivation or intention than physical or verbal abuse. Perpetrators opt to masturbate instead of physically assault a victim as a calculated way to avoid accountability. There is a dedication to not getting caught, no difference than a bank robber wearing a mask. They think, if I don't touch her or I don't finish, that covers my tracks. Well, apparently, according to her, he did finish. But yeah, very sketchy. If, Chris D'Elia apologized a few months ago for basically his reckless behavior. He has laid low since then, saying that he, has a lot of thinking to do, a lot of soul searching, blah, 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 whatever they say before they disappear, right? Well, as more comes to light, this is way more tarnishing to his reputation, I think, than just trying to bang your fans and trying to get girls up to your hotel room and hook up. I mean, yes, he was being slimy before. It's hard to compare one misconduct to another, but I think when all the accusations came out up front, we accepted his apology. There really wasn't much else that came from that. And I think when someone apologizes, it's important to sort of hear them out and see if they'll change. But as more comes to light, it's like, well, this isn't just you hitting on a couple fans, finding out they're 17 and, ghosting them or trying to get someone up to your hotel room. This is, imagine if this were your daughter. And I know what a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't have to imagine if it's your daughter or your mom to relate. But when it comes to empathy, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Imagine if your daughter, moves to Los Angeles to pursue her career, to become an actress, to do all these things that she's riding on. You think she wants to have to tell this story? You know what I mean? And I think that's what's important to look at. Do you think somebody wants to have to tell this story? I don't know what'll happen next, but I have a hard time believing that any agents, managers, or anyone in the industry is going to want to work with him again. Even Joe Rogan just moved over to Spotify, and his Chris D'Elia episodes are gone. He's been pretty much taken off of Netflix and all these things. And again, I'm careful with cancel culture. I think it's important for things to just live out there. You can't just cancel the whole Bill Cosby series because the guy was a rapist. You know what I mean? Like, it exists in our history of Americana, right? But what will be interesting is how people decide to spend their money moving forward in the future. Will people show up to some of his shows? I'm sure. I'm sure he still will attract an audience, but as far as mainstream Hollywood goes, I think he's done. But we'll see. If you like this video, leave a comment. Let me know what you think, even if you disagree. I'm always open to having a discussion. And subscribe. I've got other videos, podcasts, stand-up clips, and reaction videos. And hang in there. 2020 is almost over. Jesus Christ. Let's get this year over with.